Okay, YouTube. So here we are. We're going to start working on our water setup for our Sullivan intake manifold, which is over there. But what we're going to do is we're going to start working on this part here. Now, like I said in our get started video, we have to make 2 flanges. We have to, now what I've used, and now this also, these parts, I made the flange, okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this video. And then this is a black pipe 1-inch street elbow, okay. And then you sit there and you go, oh, that's cast iron, blah, blah, blah. This is from Home Depot and from China. The small amount of cast iron that's actually in this, you'd be amazed, because this one here, same exact part, okay. And all I've done with this one is I've ground down same exact piece, okay. And you can see that this does not look like cast iron, okay. So this is the same exact as this, and again, this was our prototype, okay. And what I've done is I've drawn the intake manifold on the table. I use this as if you look, what I've done, I have to look in the camera from the back here. Okay, so what I've done is the inside of this, okay, is exactly in line with the flange before I welded it down. What I did was I took a 1-inch piece of pipe, drilled a hole through the floor in the Sullivan where that hole is actually going to go, okay, and then I fit my piece of my street L through the flange and then marked it down on the table. Lined up my holes, marked it down on the table, and then that's where I knew that this flange was going to go, okay. So that's how I was able to get these perfectly lined up in here, okay. Now again, our channel is designed for how can I build this without a lathe, without all of the high-tech milling machines and everything else to actually make this part, because the average guy that's watching YouTube that's doing this kind of build is in his garage. He's not sitting here going over to the machine, you know, to actually do that. He's going to sit there and try to make this himself, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we did it. All right, so you need 2 of these. This is called a street L, 1-inch street L. We're going to make the flange. I'm going to show you how to do that. That's out of 1/4-inch steel plate. Okay, it's not really a steel plate. What I did was I took a 2x6 piece, okay, and I cut the piece out. All right, there's a 2x6 box steel, 1/4-inch thick. All right, took that out and actually made the flange out of this material here, okay. So then what I did was I got scheduled 40 pipe. This is, where can I get this? Home Depot, Lowe's, okay, Ace Hardware, any one of the any one of your plumbing supply stores, okay. That's where you get this pipe from. All right, now you're asking, wow, that's really heavy. It's not really that heavy considering how, this little section of part here. And again, in the last video I've said that I'm gonna have to make brackets to hold the alternator in place, okay, because our Sullivan intake is here, comes out here. We're gonna put the plate in underneath it to raise it up, and then the alternator fits right in here, okay. I also wanted to tap and thread this, okay, so I can have my return line to actually I'm going to put it in this in over here. I wanted my return line, so I wanted this thick enough to thread this in here, okay. And you say, well, why didn't I weld it? Well, the more welding I do on this, the more it's going to warp, the more possibilities of holes and leaks that I can possibly get, okay. So if I thread this in here, I know that I'm safe. All right, so the first thing I did was I traced the intake manifold, so I had a template that I can go to on the table. I also made where my throttle body is going to end up, so that's marked on the table here. This is where my throttle body ends up. Okay, then what I did was I took a piece of cardboard and I placed it on here. Okay, so I knew when I make my flange, okay, I knew where I had to cut and what it was going to look like when I was done. So you take this flange here, you're going to make this flange, I flip this over, you come on the other side, and it's the exact same piece that fits on this side, right? So this is my template that I have to cover and make. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit so I can draw on it better, and then I'll cut this out. Okay, now the one thing that I don't hear a lot about on every videos that I've watched also is safety. Okay, you're working with stuff, the guys that are just, you know, go ahead and build and build and building, you know, some of them are wearing their safety equipment and some of them are not. When you're working with this kind of stuff here, you want to make sure that you're safe, because this stuff moves so fast, okay, you wouldn't even know what happened before it happened. So you want to make sure that you have your safety gear on. All right, these are reading glasses, these are not safety glasses. I'm going to take these off and I'm going to put safety glasses on. This is loud. Depending upon how long you're going to be grinding, you want to put ear protection on. So now I'm going to put the ear protection on and put these and go. I follow most of the safety rules. How about that? Now, where did my, here it is. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my template that I made out of cardboard. I'll put this up here. Okay. I'm going to trace the holes so I know where they are too. Alright, I'm going to make another one. Now, because of the light and the shininess, I have a glare, so you can't see. But I'm going to draw this on here. And you can do this. If you're guy or a gal or a young lad or young girl, okay, that gets frustrated because you're doing stuff too fast or what have you, take your time. If you are going, you know, if you're doing something and you're starting to get, you know, like this is boring, da da da, walk away from it. Okay, come back to it. All right. This kind of stuff you have to take your time to do. Now notice on the back of the flange, I've cut this groove out. And that's for a rubber gasket. You can get a rubber O-ring, 1.25 inches. Okay, I'm going to put a rubber O-ring on here. So when this goes down, this is actually the wrong side, it's the other side. But when this goes down, okay, it will, use this one here. When this goes down and you screw it down in place, all right, and we're going to use a rubber gasket, and we'll probably do some, you know, some sort of silicone as extra. All right. When it goes down, it'll squish that rubber O-ring down to the Sullivan intake manifold, and it won't leak. All right, because we're going to drill a 1-inch hole through this aluminum plate. Now, originally, what I was going to do is I was going to drill the hole, 1-inch hole, and then do a 1-inch tap, and actually drill these into, or screw these into the Sullivan intake manifold. That was what I was originally going to do, but then I said, okay, now if I make any piping to come out here or whatever, I'll never get it out. Okay, so I said, you know what, let's make it removable just in case I need to take it apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut these out. Anytime you're using these grinding discs, this metal piece goes down towards the machine. And you want to make sure you don't have to make it super tight. It just has to be snug. That's it. Because as the machine spins, it tightens this up. There we go. Plate again. Our holes. because it's colder in here than it is outside. Yes. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a white paint marker. Using a white paint marker, sorry my arm's in the way, so I can see exactly now where this is still quite hot, but I'm using a white marker, so now I can use the other grinder. I'll put a different disc on it and actually grind down to this exact shape. Then what we'll do is we'll put it on our intake manifold and make final adjustments there. So here we go. That sucker's hot. Okay, now we got our basic shape, and now we're gonna measure it, and we're gonna look, and we'll see. Got a little lip over here, lip over there. Not bad. I think we're gonna leave what we got. Okay. Good holes. Okay. So there's our holes that line up. Some bolts here. There we are. All right. Now comes the tricky part. Redraw. So I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to put my bolts in. I'm going to come up under the table. I'm going to draw